wanting to get into real estate.
If nothing else got through to anyone, this is what I would want them to take away from mortgage. It is designed to help you get a home, not to prevent you from getting a home. I know I come from extremely humble beginnings, so it was very easy for me when I got on the lending side to look at it with a very broad scope. I do get my amazing clients from my amazing realtors.
Okay, here we go.
Money never sleeps. You never met a CPA quite like me.
JJ the CPA here. Hope you're doing well. I am so excited. I've got Angie here with me, and we are going to be talking today about some things that we have dealt with. I guarantee you are dealing with. And what we really are hoping your takeaway here is how to improve your process, whether you're a realtor or a borrower or somewhere in the process of acquiring and selling real estate. So with that, Angie, welcome to Money Never Sleeps, the podcast. Get us started by just saying, what is it as a lender that really gets you up in the morning, and this is a fulfilling job for you? Because we're hoping you know what a lender does, but tell us really kind of from your perspective, what makes you love what you do?
Of course. Well, thank you for having me.
You bet.
I love my job so much. It's just, like you said, it's very fulfilling, very rewarding to get to be a part of, honestly, one of the biggest decisions that a lot of people make in their life. Purchasing a home is not something we do every day.
Yeah.
And so just finding ways to honestly help them reach their goals, moving things around, advising, assisting in all of the scenarios and hurdles that can come up, just was something that can be a little overwhelming without the right people on your side. So having the experience and open communication with clients to know what their end goal is and really just finding a way to get them there.
Yeah. Well, you know, Amanda, my wife, right? She's a realtor.
Love her.
With that, yes, me too. But with that, one of the reasons we love working with you is that communication and having not only just open communication, but actually hearing from you and having the opportunity to ask you questions. And, you know, all of us approach things as a team. So realtors are having to work with lots of different folks, and you are one of the stars in the process, right? Because it can hang in the balance, obviously, with the lender. But let's talk about, what would you hope lenders could reach down and tell every realtor so that they knew this to kind of help the process? And I'm going to just start it off by saying, you know, as a CPA, working with small businesses and individuals the last 33 years, I've had opportunity to be a part of this process as well from my side, because of course you're looking at what we prepare, the tax return. And what I would love for realtors to understand is, really early in the process, we have got to get the lender involved.
Yes.
And the sooner we can do that and we can all be in communication, we then don't get too far down the road and now it feels as though the lender is delaying things, but it's only because you were brought in too late, in my opinion, right? So
sometimes,
really, what would you say, in a very positive way, of course, what is it that you would hope realtors maybe could take away from this in terms of helping that process and really now seeing you as a team player?
Yeah. I used to be a realtor, so
Yes.
I have that side, and that season of my life, just it was time for a new season, and was blessed to find lending and love it so much. So from my experience, and then just over the years on the lending side, just asking for communication from all parties or your lender to communicate is a very fair request, and keeping that communication open both ways. Just knowing that we have the same end goal. We want to get our clients a home. We want to get them the best deal. That's the name of the game. Want everyone to feel taken care of. So just knowing that you should expect communication. For sure. You're not asking too much to want to know about where your client is.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yes, and certainly building that trust with the client, that you have a great lender that you've worked with, that you've nurtured relationships with, that they know they'll be taken care of, and building that connection just as soon in the realtor-buyer relationship as possible. I'm very big on telling my clients it's a super exciting time to go buy a home. You're going to enjoy it a lot more if you know the payments that are going to come with the homes you're walking in.
Yeah.
And while the mortgage side is not always the fun, pretty side, it is an important part of buying a home.
Yeah.
And so the sooner that we can all kind of build that teamwork mindset in the transaction, the more enjoyable it is for everyone. You're exactly right. I mean, if I have to hop in and kind of retweak what they've read on Google or, you know, just honestly all the myths that come with lending and home buying, the sooner I can get in touch with a client in the home buying process, really just from my experience, it's just a lot more enjoyable.
Yeah. And tune into another podcast with Angie, because we're going to talk about some of these myths and talk about some of the calculations. But to your point, I feel like, you know, realtors are very much now at the mercy of the yes or no of the lender. And I have been very big on, with my clients that are coming to me, that if they have that relationship with their local bank, to really check with that bank. This is me saying this to my client.
Sure.
Hey, do they really specialize in doing mortgages? Because a lot of them, they'll offer it. But my 3 best friends that work at traditional brick and mortar banks that you pick out checks and you have a checking account at, all tell me you really should go to Angie, or you really should go to a lender that has a lot of avenues, that does mortgages every single day, right?
Yes.
Where they are now looking at car loans, business loans, lines of credit, you know, they're looking at a lot of different types of decisions related to loans, and not really a specialty. So it doesn't mean you don't give your home bank a chance. But what I usually say is, hey, at the same time, why don't we talk with Angie, and Angie being a lender that has avenues to look at. And so what would you hope that a borrower would know? Because that's what I hope a borrower would know, is like, listen, don't just put all your eggs in one bank's basket in this decision.
Yeah. No, I think it's great. And I'm just as guilty. Before real estate was my entire world. When you think of money, you think of bank. So a lot of times banks have that business just come naturally to them, so they're not working overly hard to learn just the different avenues that we talked about of what is available. And that's completely fair. But like you touched on, all I do seems like 9 days a week is mortgages. Yeah. And I love that. So we stay very current on any changes, what programs are or aren't available. So that's a huge benefit to borrowers. Additionally, there are actual guidelines that you can, what they call shop. If you have a bank pull your credit and start that process, you are entitled to a window to do your due diligence to make sure that you know that's not the only product available, that's not the only rate available. So you actually have about a 30-day window to have up to 3 lenders look at your credit, and you're only going to receive the impact of that first inquiry.
I see. Okay.
And so a lot of times, I want to like scream that from the mountaintops. They're like, oh, we really don't want another ding on our credit. Well, then you need to shop and communicate at the very beginning to make sure you're comfortable with the terms that you're being given. And I love that. Again, when I got onto this side of it, was a lot more familiar with it. And typically my realtors will have a lot of good luck having that conversation with clients because it's just not known. And I don't know if it's a rarity or anything. I'll tell my clients that, hey, if you want to check my terms and check my rate and check my fees, I just pulled your credit today. You have a 30-day window to do that. I think if someone isn't willing to offer that advice, then we just want to take care of the client.
Right.
And so I want them to know, like, hey, this is my product and what we're able to offer for you. And to me, hopefully that provides them peace of mind, knowing you actually have a window to double check things like that. You're not just stuck with the first person who pulls your credit. You can look at it. Banks are fantastic for some loans. And lenders such as myself, we have just tons of products available. And it's, as you know, with CPA and taxes, it's not a one-size-fits-all. What works for client A won't work for client B. And client C we've never even seen before. Like it's completely new. So I just think, if a borrower knows just open and honest transparency, it's more than just about the numbers, for sure. You want to feel taken care of on a 30-year investment. And then obviously, the name of the game is the best deal. So you do want those to fall in line. But you don't have to sacrifice customer service,
Yeah.
getting taken care of, because our fee's more
Yeah.
affordable. Our
Right,
rates
right.
are lower, and you'll still get that fantastic customer
Right.
service. So,
Yeah.
but yeah.
Well, and Angie and I, we know bankers right here that we interact with, and sometimes it makes sense that somebody went with them. So it's not even a who's better, and I agree with you on who's got the best deal, but what's really interesting is I think that a lot of borrowers think that there's really kind of one rigid decision-making process.
Yeah.
And it's kind of nerve-wracking. Is somebody going to deny me? Right? We don't want to be rejected, and that's
Sure.
sometimes how it feels. So when I'm talking to my clients, I say, listen, if you can get with a lender like Angie, or you need to go to Angie, right?
I have them stand on the corner with a big sign.
That's right. That's right. But with your different avenues, so literally last week, I texted you in the evening and I said, hey, you can reply in the morning, but I'm talking with my client right now. And I just laid out some circumstances related to them. And the reason I wanted to bring it to you is that many times when you're going to just one institution that's got one decision maker, well, then it's going to really just be their guidelines, which makes all the sense in the world.
Sure.
But I knew with you, I was like, and this is exactly what you almost immediately came back with is, well, let me check with our other avenues of where we could find this opportunity, because some lenders are able to do this, some lenders are able to do that, right? And some are, okay, if it's properties below this, we got no problem. Or they specialize in you name it. And that's where then you have a better chance of not only getting a yes, but maybe getting more favorable terms. So minor example is I've got a client and they were looking to get a mortgage. Now this is a number of years ago from their bank, and they got a no. And they're like, how in the world did I just get a no? I mean, I have $1 million in the bank with you. I have my businesses with you, and they were quite offended. And I said, well, let's go and chat with them, because I said, I think I'm going to guess why.
Right.
But here was the reason. The bank said, listen, we're already extending you $10 million in debt. Like we're have plenty of risk with you already.
Right.
With this development and with this deal and with this business. So it had nothing to do with us saying no to your loan. It's just we're now at full risk with you.
Yes.
So when you're looking at a bank, they have different types. So when I say get with a lender like you, just to kind of close us out, and I keep talking about what's the different avenues. And so in case you're wondering, well, what is different avenues? Close us out by just talking about what are the different avenues a lender like you bring to the table as an advantage.
Yeah. I mean, we have all of the traditional financing, the FHA, VA, conventional. We have some great first-time homebuyer programs, so 3% conventional. We partner with, probably 20 different servicers who are essentially competing to offer the best interest rate to get to service that loan. First-time homebuyer programs, grant programs, local in the state of Oklahoma. And then we also offer some of the just more quirky loans that you don't hear of all the time, like a DSCR loan, which is great for investors. So as long as, essentially, to sum it up, is if the property they're purchasing is going to pay for, if they can lease it for more than the mortgage payment, we don't have to collect income documents. So if you do have the self-employed borrower who is just starting out and we can't necessarily down a traditional route use their 10 months of self-employment, that's a great option if they're wanting to get into investing. A bank statement loan for clients who, again, maybe haven't been self-employed long enough, or they have 10 years of self-employed income as a real estate agent, but now they're going into lawn care. Well, those are two different fields, so we can't use those returns the same way. We can look at their bank statements and average out deposits. Those are meant to be more short-term loans, to where after a couple of years of the buyer telling their CPA that buying their home is their goal, that we can get them into more traditional financing for sure. But I'm absolutely the person that if a client's working with a bank and they've been offered certain terms, then we just can't touch those. It does me no good to steer a client away when they're in a position to buy a home. So just making sure the client's goals are first and foremost, and I know we're partnering with great people, that makes that really easy to do. So if we're not the right fit, or if they're really, really good with where they're at, whether that's a bank or a different lender, then we just express that. A second set of eyes on things is great from the lending side. There are tons of moving pieces. Another thing I would say is if you are a borrower and especially self-employed or anything, tell your CPA you're planning on buying a home.
Yep.
That is huge.
Yeah.
We reach out to our self-employed clients in our database who maybe weren't able to purchase the year before or a few months before when they filed or applied.
Yeah.
All because of their taxes. And we ask them either, hey, can you put us in touch with your CPA so we can just let them know, hey, they're planning on buying a home.
Right.
You know, this is got to be their second year, so let's tee it up where they don't have to wait a third year.
Right.
Or can you maybe have that combo with them of why we have to do things one way versus the other?
Right.
But we have reached out to CPAs before. How would that make you feel? Like if a lender reached out to you and it's like, hey, we've got a mutual client, they've got goals, let's do it.
Yeah. I would love that. And that's what we're going to be talking about on our follow-up podcast. So be sure to check that out. We're going to put a link below to that additional podcast. And be checking out one of our future guests, Christy Vantastic, and she talks about once you have loans, how can you quickly extinguish them? But with that, Angie, thank you so much for being here with me today. We so appreciate your relationship, not only just in terms of taking care of our customers and clients, but the community at large. And what we love about working with you is that we trust you. We really feel like when you say, hey, listen, if we're not the right fit, or here are your other options, you do really walk and talk that. I mean, you really do that. And that's where I would probably say as a takeaway for whether you're a tax professional or a realtor tuning in right now, or even a borrower, is having that relationship with anybody that you're doing business with. It all kind of leads down to what my grandfather said, which is we do business with people that we trust. So with that, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for tuning in. And I'd love it if you'd subscribe. And with that, we are out of here. And don't you forget, you've never met anybody quite like Angie as a lender, and you've never met a CPA quite like me. Money never sleeps.